Hello students, today I am going to cover up lecture number 2 of unit number 5, that is your application. In this video, I will cover up the basic concept of World Wide Web, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, Telnet and FTP. These are the small topics that may be asked in the examination as a short notes or maybe as a comparative study. So we must go through these one by one. So firstly, I am covering the World Wide Web. The www referred to the World Wide Web or simply web. The World Wide Web contains all the public websites contained on the internet worldwide, including the client devices that access the web contents. Now, what is the web content? There is a server that contains a group of pages. Web pages is known as the web server, and a group of web server makes the website. These web pages are linked to one another to form a complete website, and a group of website may be hosted on a web server. So the World Wide Web is based on the following technologies that must be included at least. First one is the HTML, second one is the HTTP, and third one is the web server and web browser, including web clients also. So HTML is the basic technology. We can use the dynamic or active page also. It is only for the designing the static page. Then there is a need of the protocol to access the web pages, that is the HTTP, that may be secure HTTP or the HTTP, and then after web browser and web server. Web server, as I have discussed, contains the web pages. Web browser are the interface that runs on the client side to access the web pages. It was initially developed by the Tim Berners-Lee in late 1980s and early 1990s. It is helped build prototype of the above web technology contained the term www. Websites and web browsing exploded in popularity during the mid of 90s. Now, architecture. The www today is distributed client server service in which client is using the browser to access the services on the web server. So here is a diagram. It shows this is the client and there are two web servers, and that web server has maybe one or more websites. So I am considering here it is contains only a single a website, that is the website A on web server A and website B on the web server B. The client request corresponding to a particular web page from hosted on a web server. This web page is the first page. In general, it is named as index.html. So server will respond back to the client that web page, that may be the login page or that may be the home page, whatever that may be. Similarly, if the server client request to the server B corresponding to a web page, the server we will search for a particular website and it will respond back to the client. So this is the simply client server based architecture. Here it is a server, this is the client request for the web page, and corresponding to that server respond back the requested page. However, the service provided is distributed over the many location called sites. Here we have discussed. There are two components, client and server, as I have already discussed. A client is a host that requests the server for a specific web page with the help of the web browser, and server is a collection of the web pages or maybe the group of websites and respond back to the client for the specific or demanded page. The web page may be static or dynamic, so we will discuss after some time. So these are the languages that are used to design the web pages. This may be HTML, ASP, Active Server Page, JSP, etc. There is a need of the URL on the web page on the web browser to access the particular website. It is a global address, document, and other resources on the www. The syntax is defined as follows: protocol colon double slash host colon port number slash path. So protocol is a set of rules that are used to communicate between two machines that may be client or server. The protocol may be like Telnet, FTP, SMTP, or DNS, etc. That may run on any layer. So here we are talking about the application layer on protocols only. Host. Host is any computer on which the information is located. Although the name of the computer can be lies. Means it is a simply name of the computer. For example, my computer has the name Arun PC. So name of the computer will be there. In general, I cannot recognize this computer by Arun PC. So there should be an IP address. So this is the basically unique IP address of that computer. Or we can say it is the public IP address. We have already discussed private and public IP address. So there are three range in the private IP address and rest of the IP address except the loopback address, that is 127.0.0.1, all are the public IP address that we have discussed in the unit number 3. I am not going to discuss here. I have only recalled that. Then after the port number again we have discussed in the unit number 4. Port number may be associated with the UDP or TCP protocols. So for example, if we are using the web service, so port number 80 will be this 80 will be there. If we are using a telnet, then 23 will be there. If we are using the email services, then port number 25 will be there. So this we have discussed already. Then after path is the path name where the file information is located. For example, I have taken here as this is the Reg Grazni, a world famous CCNA book writer. So I have taken the example of his. So HTTP protocol. Then after host, I have used the name of the host, but it will be converted into the IP address. I have not used the port number. Port number you are using in the KIET, for example, when you want to access the internet, there is a there comes a internet access login name and password. So its IP address, I hope so, it is 172.16.16.16 colon 8090. So so 8090 will be the port number. Then after path, when it will reach to the that particular directory or the we can say the particular host, then there is a directory like rg grazni, so it will access the next page of this folder By default, it will be the index.html. It is assumed that during the designing, the designer should make a name or keep a name of first page of any website like .html, index.html. Now cookies. Cookies are the files generally from the visited web pages which are stored on your computers or users computer. They hold a small amount of the data is specific to the particular client or the website that can access either by the web server or the client computer using username, password, session, etc. For example, sometimes I fill up the information, and when it asks at the top right hand corner, do you want to save the login name and password? And we put the button yes. So it stores the information. Whenever next time you will visit the same website and there is a need of the filling up the login name and password, so it will automatically appear in the text boxes. So these are the basic information. Now cookies are three types: session cookie, permanent cookie, and third party cookie. Session cookies are established only for the or only during the session. For example, when you are doing the online shopping and allows you to keep the item in your basket when shopping is online. This cookie expires after the specific time or when the browser is closed. So these cookies are used for a specific time period whenever you or for a particular session, or we can say the until the browser is open. For example, once you have entered the login name and password and you have entered the website and you have visited number of web pages, and when you close back it will again request to you the login name and password. Permanent cookies. Permanent cookies are those cookies which are stored in your computer even the browser is closed. They remembers the login credential or the password as I have discussed in the previous slide, or you do not have to type them every time as you use the website. It is recommended that delete these cookies after a specific time because the hacker may or attacker may use the your information. Last one is the third party cookie. These are installed by the third parties for collecting the information such as Google Map. So when you are using the Google Map, it requests to you kindly allow to access your location. If you will allow it, then it will permanently store at your computer and access the your location. So these are the third party cookies. Now next term is the web browser. These all terms are related to the www. That's why I am discussing. And these are the part of your curriculum also. Now, web browser. Web browser, as we know, to access any website, we requires an interface. Interface is a web browser. So, web browser is used to locate, retrieve, and display the information on www, such as images, video, audio files, text file, etc. As a client server mode, the browser is the client at the client end and runs to access the information on the server by requesting a particular web page. The web server sends the information back to the web browser, which displays the results on the computer or the other internet enabled device that supports the browser. The famous browser are Google Chrome, Firefox, Mozilla, Netscape Navigator, Opera, etc. So these are the famous web browser. The most popular web browser nowadays is the Google Chrome. Now, web document. Web documents are of three types: static, dynamic, and active. So we will discuss now these one by one. Static documents. Static documents are the fixed, have fixed content and created that are created and stored on the server. The client can get only the copy of the document. In other words, the content of the file are determined when the file is created, not when it is used. For example, I have created the website of kit.edu and not updating its information. Means static pages are there. Department of Computer Application is there and that have the information. Each it does not contain the information of the each student, each year they get admitted, all the faculty member. It is not updating all the lab information. It is not updating. Once it is stored, that will remains constant. So when a user will request from the client end for the list of available students, so it will not display. It will display the older one that was the first time entered, because the administrator can update this. If the administrator will update that, then that will be displayed. And if whatever the contents are there, they are specific and they cannot be updated. For more explanation, I can take the example time. Select asterisk when in SQL you are using you want to fetch the time from the server. Select asterisk from select asterisk from dual, something like that one, or date and time from the dual. So you want to access the time, but time is changing continuously. At present, it may be possible it is 10 o'clock 11 minutes. Next second, it will be the 10 o'clock 12 minutes, 10 o'clock 13 minutes. But if it is a static document, then it will be always 10 o'clock 11 minutes. It will not updated by the 12 minutes or the 13 minutes. Or number of web pages visited, there will be a counter. So it will not update the counter. Whatever the fixed number of the counter is entered at the first time, it will always show that. So it is only for the so static pages are those pages or website are those websites that do not update and that does not update their information. When client access the document, a copy of the document is sent. The user can use the browsing program to display the document only. So this is the basic HTML contents we can see static HTML document. Now, coming on the documents, when the web pages, all the information is getting updated continuously. For example, number of users visited the web pages. So it will update automatically when a user visit the web page or the web server or the website that particular uh, website. So such type of information dynamically changes. That's why those are known as the dynamic documents. A dynamic documents is created by the web server whenever the browser requests the documents. When the request arrives, the web server runs the application program or the scripts that creates the dynamic documents. Means each time how many users has been visited the website and or where what is the time at present, something like that one. The server returns the output of the program or the script as a response to the browser that requested the document. Because a fresh document is created for each request, the content of the dynamic document can be very from one request to another. For this, we are using the PHP, JSP, or ASP languages. These are the dynamic HTML document. The client will request for a particular website and the server will return back. Now, active documents. Active documents, basically, for many applications, we need a program or the script that can run on the client side that are called active documents. For example, suppose we want to run a program that creates the animated graphics on the screen or the program that interact with the user. The program definitely need to run on the client side where the animation or the interaction can take place. For example, there is a animation of the sliding window protocol. So entire program will be downloaded at your web browser or computer through the web browser, and then after whatever the interaction you will enter, for example, you have used the window size initially as a 10, then you have increased 16, then 24, and so on. So it will be dynamically varies. The example of such type of content are the Java applets, JavaScript, etc. So here is the example. The client is requesting for the particular web page from the web server, and corresponding to that, the server is responding the web page, or that is the applet. Now the http, as we have discussed, it is the hypertext transfer protocol. It is used for text, graphics, image, sound, and other multimedia. It has the port number 80. It runs on the port number 80, and it uses the some of the method uh, like get, post, port, trace, etc. Here the client will request to the server and server will respond back. Get method is used to request a particular document on the web server, and post send the some information from the client to server, and put used to send the document from the server to client. So these are the some basic uh, methods that are used in the HTTP. Now, HTTP connection will be of two type. First one is the non-persistent and second one is the persistent. So firstly, I am going to discuss non-persistent connection. In a non-persistent connection, one TCP connection is made for each request response. Means the client is requested for a particular web pages to the server, and server for that client will open a connection, and once the request is over from the server side, it will get closed. Next time, whenever the client again request for a web page, it will goes to the server, and after completion of the request, it will get closed. So corresponding to each request, the the session is established and then after close each time. So this type of the connection is known as the persistent connection. Here are the steps. The clients open the TCP connection and send the request. The server sends the response and closes the connection from its side. The client reads the data until it encounters the end of the file, and once the end of the file encountered, it will close the connection. In case of persistent HTTP connection, the connection is open for the entire session. Once the session is closed or you will close the browser, then it will automatically disconnect. In a persistent connection, the server leaves the connection open for one or more requests after sending the response. The server can close the connection as at the request of the client, or time out when has been reached. The sender usually sends the length of the data which each response. Now, next topic is the remote login. Remote login is basically a facility to execute a program remotely without downloading its own local computer. Means suppose that a server has the C compiler. I do not have, sorry, the server has the C compiler and I do not have the C compiler. But I have the C program that I want to execute. So I will send all the requests to the server by making a connection, and I will execute the program and the output of that program return back to me. That means I have no need to install the C compiler on on my particular system or my host. Remote login means connecting the authorized user to log in to other machine host on the network to interact with the user were physically at the host. Means it give an illusion कि you are working on the remote system. All the remote system, you are directly interacting with the remote system on your computer. Was the user logged in at the remote system? So whatever the permission it has, according to that, it perform the action. For example, read, write, edit, delete, etc. The most popular example of the remote login is Telnet. Telnet stands for the terminal network. It allows the remote execution of the file. In the TCP/IP protocol, the virtual terminal service is proposed by the ISO. The Telnet enables the connection to the remote systems in such a way that local computer appears at the remote system. Means we are working just like the remote system. So here this is the client and this is the server. The server side, the server program will run on the server side and the client program will run on the client side. The client machine will request its NVT using NVT, means network virtual terminal, for a connection. The network virtual terminal of the telnet will check for the credentials. Once it is matched, so it will communicate with one another. So here will be NVT, then Telnet client. Here will be the Telnet server, then protocol. That is a Telnet protocol will run. That has the port number 23, and there will be a operating system. In Windows, Microsoft Telnet is there already. It works on the time sharing environment. Means a number of user can communicate directly to the Telnet server. Means this is the Telnet server. So number of user can interact at the same time. This is computer C1. This is the computer C2. This is the computer C3 or client C3. And this is the server S. So this works in the time sharing mode. Second, login facility is there. Only you can use the computer if you has the authorized login name and password. Working, I have already discussed that Telnet uses the software installed on the client, installed on the computer to create a connection with the remote host. The Telnet client software at your command will send the request to the Telnet to the remote server. The server will reply back, login, ask for the login name and password, and thereafter, once you have entered the login name and password, that is check for the credentiality. If it is valid, then it will allow to log in. Otherwise, it will deny the request. So, and once the connection has been established, then after you can use the remote program. So, advantage of Telnet accessing the remote computer, it saves the time. Disadvantage, it is not secure because the data is exchanged in terms of plain text. It is older version. There was no graphics. All the color, it may be difficult to use. Nowadays, we are using the RDP, Remote Desktop Procedure, Ultra VNC, TeamViewer. These are the software that are used to share the screen, all the computers. So these are the modern Telnet, modern remote desktop or remote login facilities that are in use. The last one is the file transfer protocol. If we want to download or upload a file to a server, To store it permanently or maybe for the timing, we need the FTP. FTP is used to transfer the file between two computers over the network or internet. The FTP protocol through which internet user can upload their files to the computer or the website or download from the website to their PC. Here in the KIT, we are using the dump server. Dump is the name of that computer. That is basically have the IP address 10.0.0.11. So we can write in the runs double slash 10.0.0.11. So it will open the dump. It will ask for the login name and password. Once you have entered the login name and password and save the credential, next time it will not ask for the login name and password. Now you can upload or download your files. There are two ports corresponding to that FTP. Port number 21 is known as the control connection, and 21 for the control connection and 20 for the data connection. Means there are two ports will be open during the transfer of the data. For the establishment of connection, first one that will carry the control information, and second one carry the data. The control connection remains connecting during the entire interactive FTP session. Once the connection is established, it will maintain. The data connection is opened and closed each file transfer. You have uploaded one file, then connection will open and closed. Data connection will close. Then after when you are using the second file, the again data connection will be opened and it will get closed after uploading. So this is the process. Anonymous FTP. To use FTP, we need a username and password to the remote server. Some of the websites have a set of files available for public access. To enable anonymous FTP means to access these files, user does not need the login name and password. It will allow simply you will enter the website IP address or the host name and you will get connected and then after you can upload or download the file. Advantage of the FTP: it is one of the fastest way to get large file from one computer to another. It allows to transfer multiple files as well directly. Most of the file servers requires login name and password. FTP allows you to transfer the file back and forth, means upload and download is both are possible. No size limitation of the single file. Now, the disadvantage of the FTP: username and password are the clear text, that means plain text. The FTP is vulnerable to the packet capture, means it the packet can be captured over the internet. So these are the disadvantages of the FTP. If you have any query regarding these topics, you can contact to me on my address. Thank you.